Hey everybody, this is Pamela checking in on her Speak Up for Our Future channel. I know you guys probably aren't watching the news this afternoon, but another rogue attack on our Capitol police officers has happened today. One police officer is in the hospital. The other one has died along with the attacker. And from what I know is that he tried to break through the barrier to get toward the Capitol. They stopped the car, and the guy got out brandishing a knife and was lunging at police officers, where the police officers used their guns to kill him. And they don't think it's a terrorist act, but in my opinion, I don't believe that. Because we just buried one Capitol police officer this past week, if I remember right. And now they're going to have to go through it again. They haven't notified the family yet. They don't know who the police officer is. But it's like a raging epidemic, it seems. Even places like CNN have said, people have changed and security has to change with it. And they just took down the main fencing here some days ago. There's an interior fence that's in the Capitol. But I want to know what caused this thing to happen. And I have a story here that talks about the attack. But they said tensions are still high after the attack in Washington in January. So, yeah. But I'm not going to go through it again. I just read it on my main channel on my Sharing News and Music. So here's the article, which I read earlier. But it's sad that police officers have to bury another brother to put them at rest, I guess. You know, and it's so close to the weekend, you know, when spring breaks out, you know, and people want to be home with their families and eat chocolate, eat a nice dinner, and spend time with their kids. But unfortunately, just because some nut job decided to rush to the Capitol and try to breach the blockade, a cop is dead today. And the other policeman is in the hospital. The injuries that he has, I don't know. But I think it's pretty sad that people can't go to the Capitol because of people like that guy who tried to storm the battlements, as they say. You know, something's gone terribly wrong. I don't know what it is, but something is most terribly wrong. Especially when we are coming out of a cold as hell winter and people want to get outside and enjoy the day, see the sights, see parts of the Capitol, and yet they can't because of guys like this moron. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad for the family that has to get that phone call saying your loved one died in the line of duty protecting our Capitol. And those who respect of doing their duty of protecting the Capitol, I send my condolences. It didn't have to happen. It just makes me sad. It makes me really, really sad. And since I shared that article with you, I'm going to see if there's anything new that popped up on Yahoo, but I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, let's see. Nope. Well, I don't see anything else here. Let's see. Nope, I don't see anything else on the story, but oh, God. Yeah, I'm going through my mail here for a second. So let me get this done. Something about a public opinion poll for Don the Con. So, I almost read the word con. All right, let's see here. I'm not going to tell you my answers because it's private. But I will say it's something about the Peace Prize. No, I'll tell you, I don't think he deserved it. So, no. And, okay, here's what I will tell you. They ask you if you think Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. I said no. Do you think Donald Trump should be allowed back on social media? No. And do you think Trump should be honored with a presidential library? In my words, hell no. And do you think he should be allowed to start his own political party? No. And do you think his presidency was a threat to our democracy? And after what I've seen today, yeah. So don't ask me to chip in money because I don't got any right now. I'm trying to pay my bills first. So they're going to have to forgive me for that. But I answer any questionnaire that comes in my mailbox because it just makes me sick that and I've been dealing with a lot the last couple days, so yeah. I don't deal with a lot these days. I don't deal with a lot of groups. I don't deal with a lot of bullshit. I don't have time for it. Just getting ready for Easter. I need time with my sister. I don't get to see her that often due to coronavirus. So hopefully one day it'll all be over, but right now I don't know. So, yeah. Anybody have any comments as to what's happening at the Capitol today? I think it's just beyond sad because there were a lot of people on spring break. They're enjoying the first warmth of summer coming in, even though it can be sporadic with a little bit of cold. I'm not going to lie. It's been cold here the last day or so. People want to get out and see things and do things, but they can't because of nut jobs like what happened today. So, as I've said, since January 6th, we can't really let our guard down. And I hate it. I absolutely and totally hate it. Let's see what else they're saying here. Oh, yeah. And because of the attack on the Capitol, there's a message that was played that say you cannot go in or out. If you're there at the Capitol, you cannot go out any public building and you cannot come in any public building. They were in lockdown. I don't know if they're still in lockdown, but it's a downright shame. And it's going to take a while to lower the flags at half-mast for the police officer who died as they are on Easter vacation. I think Biden went home to his hometown for the Easter holiday. But we really need to start thinking about what has gone wrong with this country. I hate to say it, but we really need to look inside ourselves. Do you want to have a country where people attack the country at any time, whether homegrown or overseas? I don't think so. But I don't think we could ever go back to being the way we were. We can't. I mean, it's just been too poisoned, if you want to know the truth. This country has been so pumped full of poison the last 4 years. It's ridiculous. And they say it was off of Constitution Avenue on CNN. And that is mere feet away from the Capitol. You can go on CNN.com or you can turn on CNN on your television. They're showing the map of where it happened and where the U.S. Capitol is. That's how close this nut job got to where government officials were working. So, yeah. And as I close this video out, I want you guys to take this weekend to appreciate the things you have, love your family, take care of your family, and start teaching your kids that life can never be taken for granted. Because look at what happened to that police officer today. You know, nobody wants to get the call that their loved one died in the line of duty. You know, and the sad thing is, the guy that attacked the Capitol, let me go back and tell you what I know. They say the guy who used his car to try and attack the Capitol, they stopped him at one of those barricades. He gets out of his car, brandishing a knife. And the cops see that as a threat. They shoot. They kill him. But before being stopped, this asshole had two police officers, putting one in the hospital and the other one to an early death. Not fair. Not fair. And they wonder why they have fencing up at the Capitol. Because of people like that. They don't think it's terrorist related, but in my opinion, any attack on a police officer, especially a Capitol police officer, is a terror threat. You know, and they need to start looking out for people that might try something, you know. It's only been, 3 months since Biden took office? Are you kidding me? I know a lot of people don't like his policies, but I would never kill anybody over it, you know? And I think it stinks. I think it stinks. They're showing shots of the car. And I may stream for a while so you guys could take a look at what I'm watching. So let me turn the sound up and you guys could listen here in just a minute. But Chuck Schumer says, I'm heartbroken for the officer killed today defending the Capitol and for his family. I'm praying for the officer injured and his family. You can go on Twitter. I'm sure it'll be trending on Twitter. I don't really go over there much anymore. But, you know, they're trying to protect our democracy and republic. So, yeah. I mean, it's just beyond sad. They're taking evidence and they got like some sort of thing that stands on like little tiny pointy stilts. So, I mean, this happened after 1 o'clock today. Yeah, I know. The whole world's gone crazy, right? That's why I tell everybody. I tell everybody all the time. You know, be sure you take care of yourself, take care of your family, because you never know when it could be your last day. Even with somebody like the moron that attacked our Capitol again today. You know, and I miss my mom and dad more than ever now. And my dad's been gone since 2009, and my mom has been dead since 2013. So, yeah. I often wish I had said I love you more. But, you know, when you're growing up and you're a hot-headed teen, you don't really think about that. But the minute your folks die or somebody you cared about dies, it hits you in the face. Yeah, I'm doing better. It's just the first few years after those deaths, I wasn't very strong. So I'm doing about as well as I can. But when I see things like this is why we need to fight for our democracy. And I hear now that Texas is trying to implement the same thing that just happened in Georgia. So we are losing our democracy slowly, especially in the Black and African American community. Yeah, it's crazy and it's bullshit. It's crazy and it's bullshit. It's limiting people's right to vote. That's what this is. It's limiting people's right to vote, limiting ballot boxes. You can't go through certain drive throughs to make your votes. And we are losing our democracy. Don't you Trump humpers see that? And I'm still muting and blocking Trump humpers on Facebook. I don't have time for bullshit, and it's just, we need to really look at what's going on with our kids. We need to see what's going on with these adults who uh, get online and they feed on propaganda. Yeah, I know. My twin brother had COVID earlier last year. So, yeah. You want to talk about being scared shitless? My brother said he had a fever, he had joint pain, and his boss told him, "You need to go and get a COVID test." Goes and gets the COVID test. And bam, they found out he had COVID. So he shut himself in for 2 weeks. And thank goodness he was okay. I still saw him at Christmas, and we had a good time. It was just a small group of us. And by the time we left, I burst into tears. And my brothers looked at everybody else like we didn't do anything. And I said, "It's not that." I said, "I'm just glad Jerry's okay." I said, "I'm glad my brother Jerry's okay." So, yeah, and I'm trying like crazy to get my shots done. I got to go and get my gynecological appointment done. I might move up my doctor's appointment because my podiatrist had messed up a couple of appointments. One, he wasn't in the office on a particular day, and then the next appointment I had to cancel because he wasn't doing afternoon toenail clippings, because he helps keep my toenails trimmed because I can't really pull my foot up or clip it. So I let the podiatrist handle that. So, yeah. So I have to go on the 8th at 10:45 in the morning to get my appointment done. So, yeah. And I want to make sure I get my COVID shots before I walk into a doctor's office. So, I mean, the last time I had a visit with my doctor was through televisit. That was interesting in itself. So, yeah. I'm not willing to play with my health. I have a niece. I have a niece that needs my support and my love. She's got autism, and I would hate to get her or her mama sick or her daddy. So, yeah. She's going to be, I think she's about 14, 15 now, I think. And she cannot speak for herself. So she's kind of like a big kid. She likes Dora the Explorer, and she likes that Frozen stuff. So, yeah. So, it's just something that we have to deal with. And like I said, they said one officer was killed today. One is in the hospital. They have to notify the next of kin of the police officer that was slain. And my respects go out to that officer because they protect the Capitol. They help people at the Capitol. Those that have diabetic problems, they help them. They have people on bikes, probably. And they've probably seen a lot of things that we haven't even heard about. And now another police officer has to face, another family of a police officer has to face the fact that their loved one isn't coming home. So I think for now, I'm going to go into streaming mode so you guys can hear some of the footage. I know my camera shots aren't very good, but I'm going to hang on here for about an hour. So, yeah. I want you guys to watch that and share this video with anybody else who wants to watch. Because no family member should have to worry about their loved one not coming home. My brother has a friend that was a police officer. He's retired now, but he's one of the lucky few to go through a career and not. I don't know if he had any injuries while on the job, but he managed to survive his whole career and go home to family. So, yeah. And the scary thing is, I'm not sure what kind of car that moron had, but it looked a lot like my mother's car. But my mother's car is a black, like a darker blue to black. Um, like I said, a lot of cars that are being made today look a lot alike. They look the same. And I think he tried to. Oh, judging by what I seen, he tried to ram the stop wall that's there. So the whole front end of the car is mushed up. So Miss Pittman was out there talking earlier today. So I mean, it's just sad. It really is. But I'm going to go into silent mode for a while so you guys can watch some of that. Let me get the sound up and we can get underway. So maybe they'll have some breaking news between now and 6 o'clock.
Have no choice but to shoot. And this isn't the movies. You don't shoot somebody's arm. You don't shoot a knife out of somebody's hand. You shoot the body mass, which is the torso.
Yes, and the acting chief did say they tried de-escalation protocols. Clearly, they said, get out of the car. He comes running out with a knife. And this is one of the more interesting aspects to this as the investigation unfolds. 25-year-old male who's using a knife. And to me, when I first heard that, I just, it's not that common, especially in the United States where guns are readily accessible. So that's going to also go into the investigation is why a knife? Let's just say, thank God, a knife. But that's going to be clearly one of their motivations. Did he not have access to gun? Where is he coming from? So they now have the person, and that is in a world of all bad news. Often that is good news because now they can begin to determine what his motivation was. Did anyone else know? And obviously begin to explain the kind of threat that the Capitol is under. And look, there may be different motivations for attacks on the Capitol, but the cumulative impact on the Capitol Police, as everyone has been saying, is extreme. And so we need to make sure that we continue to protect the Capitol, but also protect the Capitol Police.
And Phil Mudd, we were talking about this earlier in the show. But the idea of violent acts inspiring other violent acts, even if the political motivations or religious motivations or terrorist motivations or no motivation that makes any sense at all, not that any of the violence ever makes sense, but based in just self-destruction or illness. Is that how serious a concern is that? So you have the January 6th insurrection, which was based on political violence. I mean, there was a clear motivation to undo the election and to stop the counting of the electors. How big a concern is it among law enforcement then? This is just going to inspire so many other people, ranging from ISIS to people who don't even have a political motivation. They're going to have a violent episode, and now they're going to aim it at us.
Look, I think there's going to be a question appropriate about what the motivation of this individual was. For example, if the individual had mental issues that are not related to politics, you might say you can't link that to January 6th. I would not agree with that, Jake. There will be people watching this today, people watching this incident, looking what's happened to America over recent months, saying the Capitol is vulnerable. I think, and this is me speaking for those kinds of people, I think that it is my responsibility to make my voice known. I don't agree with what's happening in America. And the people who came before me, regardless of whether their motivations were clear, the people who came before me showed me that the Capitol is vulnerable. I think this is as much about the target, that is, how do we think about the Capitol today versus how we might have thought of it 2 months ago, as it is about the motivation of the individual. People will say the Capitol can be breached, and I need to do something, Jake.
And Reddit, let me ask you, CNN has identified the suspect who allegedly carried this out and was killed as a result, just as he injured and killed another officer. One of the things that is very different from how we cover these kinds of incidents today in 2021 versus how we covered them just 5 years ago, 10 years ago, is we tend to name the suspect or assailant, and then we don't name him or her again, or if we do so sparingly, because there was a lot of criticism, rightly so, of news media making these people famous. And the media evolved and learned from that. Most of us did anyway, at any rate. But it still inspires people, even though the fame has been taken out of it to a degree.
It can. It depends on the individual. To Phil's point, we don't know what the mental state of this guy was. All of that is yet to be determined. And if a person is resolved to do something like this, whether they're going to be famous or not, they're likely to try to carry it out. I think the important thing is, again, since we don't know, what we do know is an attack has already taken place, a major attack on the U.S. Capitol. This is reminiscent of that, although not nearly the same scale, obviously, but this is potentially a continuation of the sentiments, the politics, the ideology that drove people to commit the crime that they committed on January the 6th, and I don't think it could be ignored. It could also be something as simple as this guy wanted to end his own life, and the sure way to do that is to crash into some police officers, get out of your car, and run at them with a knife.
Right.
I heard that discussed earlier on the air, and that's a reality. Some people do attempt to end their lives by provoking police officers to kill them.
Right. So
it's rare, it's unusual, but it's not out of the question.
Suicide by cop, as it's referred to. CNN's Lauren Fox is on Capitol Hill, and Lauren, this is the second time since January 6th that the Speaker of the House has asked for the flags at the Capitol to be placed at half staff, to be lowered to half staff, to honor a fallen Capitol police officer. She's now also reacting to this incident with her words. Tell us more.
Well, that's right. The House Speaker giving out this statement just a few minutes ago, and I want to read it. It is really offering thoughts, prayers, and an acknowledgement of what has occurred today at the U.S. Capitol. She says, quote, "Today, America's heart has been broken by the tragic and heroic death of one of our own Capitol Police heroes, Officer William Evans. He is a martyr for our democracy." She goes on to say in this statement that Congress is prepared and ready to begin an investigation into what she calls a heinous attack. And I think that is really important here because, there's what occurred today, and then there is the repercussions for what the Capitol is going to have to do to try to understand the event, but also, make sure that it can't happen again in the future, Jake. And I think that is really going to be key here because, just a couple of weeks ago, there was fencing on the outside perimeter of the U.S. Capitol. You could not drive up and down Constitution. This event today happened at the corner of Constitution and Delaware at the north front of the U.S. Capitol. So obviously there's going to be a question of what security needs to continue up here. And I think that what the Speaker is saying here is not only is she grateful for the U.S. Capitol Police Force and this officer, William Evans in particular, who gave his life today, but she's arguing that Congress has to stand ready to investigate what happened. And that could mean taking actions in the future to make sure it can't happen again, Jake. But obviously, the Capitol complex, the community up here, just overwhelmed by the fact that this happened just a few months ago, and now here we are again today on this Good Friday, a holiday when lawmakers are on recess.
That's right. It's Good Friday. And Lauren, while I have you, let me just ask you because I know working in that building, working on Capitol Hill, I remember I was a congressional reporter, and I was there on September 12th, 2001, the day after 9/11. And it was traumatic and scary and all of that. And the Capitol hadn't even been attacked at that point, although later it was with anthrax. What is it like working there, whether your own personal experience or that of people that you work with and around? ranging from members of Congress to law enforcement to other journalists. It was very scary for people on January 6th. People died that day. There's been a big effort to whitewash the horrors of January 6th, but people were killed. Police officers were severely wounded by this mob. And it was only just a few months ago, not even 3 full months ago, and now you have another attack, which must also bring back some of the horrible fears and memories of that day.
Yeah, Jake, I'll tell you, I was in the Dirksen office building trying to renew my congressional ID, and I was just about to go back to my office in the U.S. Capitol building. And I was standing by this train that runs through the buildings underground, waiting for it to come, when all of a sudden an announcement came over the loudspeaker that said that there had been an event outside and that, the Capitol was on lockdown, that we weren't to enter the building or exit the building. And the visceral feeling I had, I was here on January 6th. It was the exact same. My heart dropped. The feeling that you have up here on Capitol Hill, I was just walking into the building today. My husband dropped me off in a corner, basically right near where this barrier is this morning. And I just was feeling really hopeful about the fact that for the first time in a long time, it felt like things were starting to get back to normal up here. It will never be the same after January 6th, but there was just really a sense that I was starting my day. The cherry blossoms are all blooming. It's such a beautiful time to be in Washington. It's Easter weekend for those who celebrate that holiday. And, I was just feeling like, okay, like things are starting to move on. And that announcement just a couple of hours ago, that feeling, it was just like I was back standing in the basement of the Capitol on January 6th when I was being told on that day I couldn't get back to my office in the U.S. Capitol. So a lot of parallels, Jake, and I know from talking to sources, both staff and members that I've been talking to this afternoon, many people felt the exact same way about what they were feeling today, even members who weren't at the Capitol but watching from home or back in their districts.
Yeah,
Jake?
no, traumatizing without question. And of course, our thoughts are with the family and friends and colleagues of Capitol Officer Billy Evans, who was killed today in this incident. We're going to squeeze in a quick break. We're going to come back with some more breaking news. One officer, Officer Billy Evans, killed at the U.S. Capitol. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
How great is it that we get to tell everybody how Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance? So you only pay for what you need.
Give me a second, and I'll turn the sound down, and we can talk for a minute.
No, buddy. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Yep, I get it. We need to start coming together as people, or we're doomed. And I feel bad for the policeman that died on the Capitol grounds, because he probably had kids, he probably had a wife, he probably had everything. No news media is any better than any other. But, there was a series that came out a few years ago. It was called America Under Fire. It was a Showtime series that talked about some of the recent shootings that happened, like Aurora, Colorado, the Washington Navy Yard, and even Columbine. There was a couple that was talking about not glorifying the shooter. Just say his name once and then call him the shooter or the attacker. That is what the news media here at CNN was talking about. Don't try to glorify these people in threatening poses. Don't glorify them. Just say their name once and then move on from that. And it makes me sad that a cop got up this morning, probably had a nice breakfast, hugged his wife and kids goodbye, and said, "I'll see you tonight," only to end up dead at the bed of at the butt of a car. So It's just pathetic, you know? No news medium is perfect. But you got people like Fox and Newsmax that'll twist anything to fit their agenda. Hold on. John, are you leaving?
Yeah.
Well, be careful.
All right. See you later.
Yeah, if you can, call me late tonight if you're on the way back.
All right.
Love you. Well, you can't. They say you can't swear on television. You got kids that are probably watching these things. You know, kids today aren't stupid. Kids today aren't stupid. You know, they know what's going on. They know something's wrong in this country, and yet there are some that are spoon-fed by their parents to believe some of the most horrible things that I've heard about. Even young kids today are getting guns. Even kids today are getting guns for their birthday. Now, me, I'm almost 50 years old. I'll be 50 years old in a little over 3 weeks. I never wanted a gun. I shouldn't want a gun. And I don't have any use for a gun. Well, thank you for telling me your age, but you know, oh man, look at this, if you can see it. That man right there is the police officer that was murdered today. Look at that. Look at that. Now I'm really upset. Well, I'm glad they got the attacker. That's the important thing. They got the attacker. Now they need to find out if he has a digital footprint. They need to find out his postings. They need to find out anything. Phone calls, connections to friends, anything. And it's just beyond sad. People like you and me can't visit the Capitol right now because of people like the moron that killed that police officer. You don't agree with Joe Biden's policy? You have every right not to agree with Joe Biden's policies. But it doesn't give you the right to roll up on Capitol grounds and harm people like Biden or any member of the government. Remember, January 6th, the rioters wanted to, quote, hang Mike Pence. And people wanted to harm Nancy Pelosi with a gun. So, yeah. They didn't care who they were going after as long as they got the people. If they weren't loyal to Trump, they were doing anything they could to get the people. Yeah, I do too. But people are saying he's not doing enough for the border. But, you know, he's cleaning up the mess of the last 4 years. And it's going to take more than 4 years to clean up the sloppy, slimy, dirty-ass mess that has been left in office. And I've heard some crazy-ass stories that Trump spent his last days in the White House wiping his small, tiny dick on everything in that office. And I heard some of the furniture had been ruined by that pancake shit. Really? I just don't like, you know, Trump has never learned the value of the word no. In all his life, he has never learned the value of the word no. I urge you, and I plead, check out the book by Mary Trump, Too Much and Never Enough, How My Family Created the Most Dangerous Man. And she was right. And I think Trump used that political power that he had to forward his own sick agenda and try to get tax cuts for his buddies. And besides, who in the fuck sends out a stimulus check with a letter with his name etched on it? Only a insecure moron would do something like that. Biden never wrote a name on a check. The government has to write the name on the check. We're talking about the Treasury. I know. It's a hard job. It's a hard fucking job. And Trump treated it like a damn day at the casino. You know, he wanted that damn oil pipeline. I don't want no damn oil pipeline going through the ground. We're already killing our planet enough. All the fires, all the wicked storms that have been happening. There is a lot of problems that we need to handle here. Oh, I know. I wish we could go back to after when 9/11 happened. I hate to say that because I lost a friend in the music community of Rick Springfield. A friend of mine was a big Rick Springfield fan. And I heard she was somewhere, I think she was in the Twin Towers doing something, but I can't remember. But she had died that day. And I didn't know she had died until his fan club newsletter had talked about it. And, the thing that made me sick is that Trump said that people in our country were celebrating that day. I didn't see it. And I was so scared, not just for me here at home, here in Buckeye country, but my parents, they were in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. My sister was out at her house. My brother was out at his house. And my twin brother was at his house. And I slept every night with the lights on for weeks, thinking that people were going to come over here and gas the country. That's the fear I had. And watching people fall from those fucking towers that day. I had my little Chihuahua dog at the time. And I kept squeezing him tighter and tighter. I'm lucky he didn't bite me, but he knew I was scared. And I had 2 former nieces that lived with me for a while. But they had not long moved before this happened. And they're like, Pammy, what's going on? Why would they hurt people in New York? Yeah, well, he certainly didn't treat New York very good in recent years. Yeah, well, he said, and I quote, that people were celebrating the day the towers fell. And I say, bullshit. Bullshit. They even showed one guy waving a flag near the top of the building, trying to get people to help. And he fell. And the guy that was filming was catching all this history on film, said, oh my God, the guy fell. The guy fell. You can't find that footage online anymore. A lot of dumb bullshit is happening. But I don't know. I'm just a lowly American citizen. If anybody deserves the props, it's the people that tried to help that day. The firemen, the policemen, even Ben Vereen, Mr. Singer, actor, and possible producer, risked his life to hand out water to people down there at Ground Zero. They have interviews. I have stuff up in my playlists on my other channel about 9/11. And he says, I now suffer from a mysterious cough. Yep. And they even had 120 Minutes, the day that changed America, they showed some people sitting there. I think they were drunk, but when they saw the planes hit the towers, it sobered them up pretty quick. At first, they thought maybe a window had blown out and papers were falling to the street. Then they saw the second plane hit. They started screaming, and one guy says, "I'm getting out of here." One person says, "I'm getting out of here." And they're going down the stairs to an elevator, and they're scared. Even today, I still couldn't bring myself to go to ground zero. You know, I have a relative that flies all the time, and I kept thinking, oh, my older brother that just blew out of here, he's going to work in Kentucky tonight. But his wife was down in Florida when that happened. I'm just glad she wasn't on any of the planes that hit the towers, that crashed in Shanksville, and one that hit the Pentagon. I don't ever want to have that happen again. And then I had to worry about my sister that weekend because she had problems with one of her fallopian tubes, that they had to take out something out of her body in the hospital. So I couldn't go to the hospital. I had to be on bag watching duty, which never showed up. My sister was ill. So I pouted in front of the TV trying to watch Rugrats or some crap, and I just wasn't feeling it. But yet my brother took my two former nieces who were probably 7 and 8 at the time. And I called my sister and I said, I should be up there with you. And she says, honey, you don't want to come up here and walk all over the hospital just to come to my room. And I said, try me. But no, I'm stuck watching for somebody's bags to show up. So, yeah. If you think I was pissed the day our country was attacked, sure. And I'm even more pissed now that things like this are still going on and kids are killing each other with guns. Something has gone horribly wrong. And because of what happened on the Capitol, Trump got his ass banned from major platforms. And people are complaining, well, we really can't share anything anymore. Not my fault. Not my fault. It's all about how he talks and how his agenda had been spread across the internet. And he even said at one point, Russia, are you listening? He was doing anything and everything he could to smear Hillary Clinton. And we all went to bed that night. People were telling me, don't get your boobs in a bunch. Don't get yourself in a snit. Trump ain't going to be in office long. And I'm like, you watch. If he wins, he'll win by any means necessary. I believed it then, and I believed it now. And all him calling up for thousands of votes to turn over Joe Biden and putting pressurous calls out to places like Georgia. Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm scared. I can't even get a good job in this country. I've lived in this country for 50 years. The last time I worked was when I was finishing high school. Then the hiring freeze came at the state fire marshal's office out in Reynoldsburg. And I haven't been able to get a job since. A lot of places that I have applied for jobs back in the day are no longer here. Everything's going to online. And besides, they see me as a useless gimp. You know, cripple, dumbass, retard, reject. I've heard it all in my lifetime. But this is not a 9-to-5 job. I make no money from any of these videos. None. But I consider it a job because I feel it's the right thing to do. And I think you really need to go back and look through Trump's tenure from day one. And when my mom died, let's start with my dad. When my dad died, I almost committed suicide. I kid you not. Because if anybody loves their kids, it was my parents. My father was a rabid protector of me. Especially when you got dumbass teenagers making fun of my legs for being all bent from CP. And we told, that my family told these punk kids, will you bag that? My father said, you bag that? That's my daughter you're making fun of. So she has problems holding things in her hands. So she has bent legs. She's still my daughter. I love her very much. They didn't shut up. My other relatives, my sister, and my two brothers even walked up to talk to him. But at that time, I was probably like 12 years old. I pushed my food away from the table. We were in Myrtle Beach, and I wasn't hungry anymore. You do. And the manager comes out after what seems like an attorney. And he says, is there a problem here? And my dad says, well, you can bet there's a problem here. He says, these kids were making fun of my daughter. And the manager said his apologies, we'll pay for your meal. And he's like, fuck it. Don't even bag up the meal. We're leaving. And by this time I'm crying because I didn't think that people would be that mean. At 12 years old, the rose-colored glasses. The rose-colored glasses finally came off, and I walked across that parking lot. My brother Jerry turned to one of them and said, you come near my state of Ohio, I'll kick your ass. Yep, and he was a Air Force veteran, too, and very proud. Unlike people like Trump, I don't think that he would know the value of God and country. And I'm an atheist, but I know I have the pride to defend my country. So a member of our Congress got captured in battle. Sometimes that goes with the job. And those that are lucky to come home and they're safe, I'm glad for that. And even when one of them died from brain cancer, people on the Trump side put down their disagreements and went to the guy's compound and offered their condolences. It's just sad that a child was in office for 4 years. He said, and I quote, before he was even elected, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose voters. If that was a regular Joe Blow motherfucker on the street, they would be in jail. They would find out where this person lived, and they would be in jail. But not President Trump. And I hear he's under some serious litigations right now. And Mr. Getz may be in some serious trouble. So we'll have to see how those things play out. But the fact that he didn't even stick around when Biden was put into office just shows how venomous Trump really is. I know Hillary Rodham Clinton wasn't like that. I think he's done pretty damn good. He knows it's a real job. He's not on the damn golf course every day. And if he gets a chance to get away for an Easter break, he can take it because he's actually done work. I've never seen a guy be on the golf course so long. And I'll never forgive Trump for what happened in Puerto Rico or in the Bahamas. People died. He didn't. Oh, I know. And he said something to the effect. Trump even said something to the effect in the black community. Look at my African American over here. That African American has a real name. He has a family, probably has friends. Come on. You know, and it's just like that Papa John's guy. He's trying to get back in our good graces again. And then he says, I have to get that N word out of my vocabulary. You may know the word, but if you have any sense at all, you don't say it. Oh, I know. I know. You know, I wasn't alive when Kennedy was assassinated. I think that is a pretty damn cold way to go. I think about the young Kennedy that died in a plane crash. A lot of people think that there is a curse or somebody has a vendetta on the Kennedy family. You know, I would think maybe even Arnold Schwarzenegger would make a good president. You know, I have a thing on my other channel where he was talking about Trump being the worst president ever. He'll go down as the worst president ever. And the thing that hurts me about the Trump presidency is that he didn't take COVID seriously enough. Now, when I was at the doctor's office, when this all started going down, my hospital had notices up all along the hospital about COVID-19. And I thought, uh-oh, it's about to get seriously bad. I need to get my appointment done and get the hell out of here and go home until there is a vaccine. And that's exactly what I've done. The only time I really go out anymore is for doctor's appointments. Oh, I know. He called it a hoax by the Democrats. Now he knows it. Now people know it's not a hoax. Of course, you get a few idiots that go down to Florida. Oh, I won't get COVID-19. And one young man that did get it, he says, you need to take it serious. And I have. I could have lost my brother to that. I just told you about my twin brother. And there's a guy that's been hit with everything the last several years. He had kidney cancer over almost 4 years ago. He's stage 1. He's fine now. But him getting COVID, it scared me shitless. I thought he was going to leave me. And then when I started going for my regular boob checks, I was so scared. They give you the callbacks. If you're going for your first ones, you get a call back. You go. Yep. And then I think about the Broadway guy that had COVID. The one young man that was 41 years old got COVID-19, lost a leg, and eventually his life. You know, and I have a video on my other channel where he says it's a hoax. It'll go away like magic. Well, don't play with your life. If you don't think it's serious, just don't play with your life. I'm telling you, don't play with your life. Don't be stupid and think that you're going to throw off your mask and think, we can get back to normal. Even if I get my shots, I'm going to wear my mask because I know it's the right thing to do. Because I know there's a lot of people with more serious conditions than mine that can't even wear a mask, that can't even go out in public. I'm not willing to play with people's lives just to prove a point that COVID does or does not exist. Life's too precious for that. You know, and I think every day, even though my mom's been gone since 2013 and my dad since 2009, I miss them every day. They would have been in their 80s now. I miss their pep talks. I miss all their wisdom. If I'm feeling down, they're there to pick me up. They made me feel like I was somebody and not a nobody. To Trump, we're just expendable. You know, and that's what happened out there in Jamaica and Puerto Rico. Now, I know there was some fault on the Puerto Rican side. People didn't have to die, you know. And like I said, Biden is doing his best to do the job that has been bestowed upon it. But I don't think Trump has the mentality to really hold a political job. I mean, he's known for what? Being an apprentice, a TV star? That's not exactly qualifying characteristics to be president. And not even Judge Joe Brown qualifies to be a president. He couldn't even shut his mouth in fucking court. I heard about him getting arrested for being in dereliction of court, being a loud mouth, like those people that you've seen on the old Judge Joe Brown show. You can watch it on the Bounce Network every morning. It's like 95%. That dude runs his mouth about 95%. And some of his rulings are bullshit. So, yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot of lawyers and a lot of hot shots in the court system that don't like a particular judge, but you still have a job to do. You have to prosecute a client or defend a client. If you don't like the judge, you keep it to yourself. You don't go running off at the mouth and acting like an asshole. Well, I don't know. Seeing all the death toll, I just don't want to end up as one of the dead, if you know what I mean. Hearing about all the bodies being in frozen trucks and just makes me sad. And especially for our kids that are suffering weird effects like blood clots. And as I've said, my niece cannot speak for herself. If she ever got it, it would be hard to find out what's wrong with her. And she's the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen in my life. She's just a happy-go-lucky person. She wants to go outside and play, but we have to be careful with her. Because she's now at the point where she's become a young woman, monthlies and all, but they're giving her shots to help combat that. Something to help her stop her menstrual cycles. Because she's wearing adult diapers. But she's still a very happy person. She's not stupid per se, but she just can't speak. And it hurts her. I've seen that look on her face like, why can't I talk? And this is when she was really young, about 7 or 8. She's like, everybody's singing happy birthday to me, but I can't. That's going to be hard, and mom can't get SSI for her because mom and dad make too much money. Mother's in insurance. Daddy works on putting glass in many buildings like basketball stadiums and ice rinks. So, with her medical expenses and mom not being able to go into work every day, it's really cramped a lot of things. We haven't even been able to go out to dinner. I spent my birthday here at home last year. Woke up feeling depressed instead of happy that I turned 49. And my brother said, well, how are you, kid? And I said, I'm okay. It just doesn't feel like my birthday. And yet the family chipped in and got me a new Blu-ray player, which is right over here. That little tiny box in front of the picture. See here. Here we go. Right there. My family chipped in and got me a Blu-ray player. And I got some peanut butter filled pretzels for my birthday. So I got like a small cake and peanut butter pretzels. And believe me, I ate until I was almost sick that day. So, yeah. My brother's like, what about your diet? And I'm like, fuck my diet. Today's my birthday. I'm doing whatever you want. Yeah. My mom and dad said no matter what happened to them, this house was mine and that I had nothing to worry about and that they would help in any way they could so I didn't have to move anywhere. Because for a while, my sister was trying to get me to move into another home, aka a home for the unwanted or the old. And then when COVID hit, she's like, oh my God, I'm glad you didn't go into an old age home. And I said, see? I said, no offense against the elderly, but when you're dealing with a thing like COVID, it's pretty serious. Because you got people that are older and your immune systems don't work as good. A lot of the deaths happened in an old age home. That has been talked about. So, yeah. And as I say, you can't take a day for granted. You just can't. You could die from a lot of things. You could die in a car accident. You could have a stroke. You could have an aneurysm. You could pass in your sleep. And you have to sit and think. When you get to be my age, you start thinking, gee, did I do all the right things that I should have done? Did I say I love you enough to various members of my family? And there's some members of my family that have been gone for over 40 years. One kid that I knew was a cousin of mine. He died at 17 by a pain-in-the-ass drunk driver. He was going out. I guess he was going to do some Christmas shopping in Coshocton, Ohio. Didn't even get out of the area of his neighborhood. And he was hit head on. One person that was in the car with him died on scene, and he died not long after getting to the hospital. And I was 9 when that happened. And I remember falling on the floor in this room, screaming bloody murder, his name. And I knew I lost my best friend that day, but I was too scared and too much of a chicken shit to go to his funeral. And the day the Yogi Bear Christmas special premiered was the day of his funeral. And he'll be forever 17. I'll get older, but he'll always be 17. He's somewhere up in Ohio, buried, and I haven't even gone to his gravesite. I've never been. Don't want to. It'd be too odd for me. He'd be about 60 now if he was alive. He was born in 1963. I think he would be 58 this year. So, yeah. And here's the weird thing. I was out one night some years back at one of these private clubs. I followed a band that I really liked, a local band. And we went into, I think it was either the Elk Club or one of these smaller clubs. And band was playing, and a couple of guys walked over to me, and they said, "Are you Pamela? Pamela Parrish?" And I'm like, yeah. I said, should I know you? And the guy said, well, I know you don't know us, but we know of Linda McCormick and her son, Mark. And I'm like, oh, my God. He says, yeah, we're his classmates. We were his classmates. I'm like, really? And I said, who's his dad? And they said, Rodney. And I said, oh, my God. And we talked for a few minutes. Firefighters. I don't need any more telemarketers. I'll handle it. There you go. But, yeah. That blew me out of the water. They say, we know Rodney and Linda, and we were friends with Mark through school. And I'm like, I'm sorry you lost your friend. And I said, I always called my cousin my best friend because he loved a lot of things. He was full of life. He treated me like I was somebody. Even in 1977, when Queen's News of the World came out, he would bring that damn album up and he would put it on my sister's turntable and we would jam to that. Even on my bent legs, I would run around the room and act like I was dancing and we'd have a good time together. And then I showed him my Big Bird radio where he's sitting on his nest. And he says, man, I wish I had shit like this when I was little. He says, that's cute. And he played with the beak. My memories are few and far between because I was so young. But those are memories that'll carry me through anything. His mom and dad are still alive. They're about 80 now. And I wouldn't trade it for nothing. But the only thing I would want is to have him back so he could grow up and have kids and give his parents the grandkids that they probably wanted. But they couldn't have any more. And that had to be hard to go up to their son's room and clear out everything. So, yeah. That's why I'm saying, when things like this happen, you don't take a day for granted. Because you never know when something or someone is going to punch your clock. I'm not religious. I don't ever intend to be religious. But I know what respect for life is, and I know what respect for our military is. Even those that attacked our capital, those are the ones that don't deserve respect. Because whether you agree with policies or not, you don't go to the Capitol and threat to hang somebody or threat to shoot somebody in the head because you don't agree with their policies. And what's happening in Georgia and what's happening in Texas is stripping away our rights, especially for the minority. And I think the history book says there are more black people on this planet than white. You got to think about, what if it was the white race that was being persecuted and locked in chains? Would you be the same way? I wouldn't want, I can't even think about that. It would scare me too bad. It would scare me to the point of wanting to crawl in a closet and stay there. People like Rosa Parks and people like Martin Luther King Jr. have fought hard and long and hard to bring us together, not just the black community, but all of us. But as I close this video out, peeps, if you go out this Easter, mask up, keep clean, look out for one another, and always tell your family you love them. I would give my eye teeth to see my mom and dad again and get a hug from them or a kiss or a pep talk. I miss that. I even miss watching shows like Judge Alex and Judge Joe Brown just for laughs. He says, hey, kid, you want to make some more egg salad sandwiches? I'm like, sure, Dad. And I would mix up some hard-boiled eggs and make sandwiches. So, yeah. But as I've said, if you're going to go out this holiday season, just do what I'm asking you to do. If not for yourself, do it for your family. Because they're your cheering section. You want them around for a while, don't you? And I will stay safe. I'll take care of myself. I need to see my sister. I need to see my family. Because you never know when a day is going to come that they're not going to be there anymore. Have a good Easter. And keep the policeman that had died today in your mind. And Biden has just said he's heartbroken by the Capitol attack and the death of the officer that was killed today. Officer William Evans. Keep that officer in your mind. Because that could have been the president. That could have been the vice president. That could have been the speaker. And like I said, what happened on January 6th, they were going after anyone and everyone. It wasn't about political party lines. This was about the government as a whole. And right now, we cannot let our guard down. We just can't. Be safe. Take care of each other. And I'll get back on after the weekend. Goodbye. Have a good day.